Ken Trahan with Lenny Vangilder. It's our first NBC weekend preview brought to you by First NBC Bank with locations throughout the greater New Orleans area, the North Shore, and beyond. Great to have you with us, and of course it's a big football weekend in the NFL as the second round of the playoffs commence, and you've got 8 teams left. It all starts on Saturday. And Peyton Manning, who's never won a game when it's below 40 degrees in the playoffs, will get a chance again. He's at home, so we'll see how he handles it against the Baltimore Ravens. Also on Saturday, the Green Bay Packers with a rematch game against the San Francisco 49ers. How do you see these games on Saturday?
You know, as you look at this, you talk about AFC, NFC playoffs and things like that. Certainly the NFC is presenting more compelling matchups. Green Bay, San Francisco figures to be a terrific game. I mean, San Francisco and their defense matching up with Green Bay's offense. On the other side, though, as you look at Denver and Baltimore, you got some great storylines there. With is this Ray Lewis's last game? Here's Peyton Manning now. His first playoff game from another team here, other than one with a horseshoe on the side. Now he's got a horse on the side. So it's You got some great storylines there. I think certainly the night game, Green Bay, San Francisco, has the chance to be the better game. Denver has perhaps been the best team in the NFL over the second half of the season. They come in with an 11-game winning streak. Baltimore has not been as good down the stretch. We'll see how that one plays out. You never know. The games sometimes you expect to be maybe not as good end up being the better games.
Well, I agree with just about everything you've said. The whole concept of outdoors and weather and Peyton Manning was why I found it a little bit strange initially that he chose Denver, given the circumstances, considering he had played indoors all of his career.
Exactly. That certainly here you get to January and the road goes through Denver. They win this week, they'll be at home again next week. But hey, he's got a decent defense on the other side too, and he's also got some good weapons there. And let's face it, the better team is going to win. And you can make an argument, whatever, the cold, if it's snowing, whatever the case may be, that could be an advantage to the offense sometimes because you know what you're going to do, and the defense, doesn't know what you're going to do.
Fast forward to Sunday, and you've got an intriguing matchup. Seattle travels cross-country to take on the number 1 seeded Falcons in the Georgia Dome. The Falcons have something to prove in the playoffs, quite obviously, and Seattle is the hot team.
Yeah, this is one I'm intrigued with. In that, how is Seattle? Basically the people who are getting paid to figure, what the outcome of this should be, figure that Seattle is a better team than Atlanta on a neutral field. Yet Seattle didn't even win their division, and Atlanta is the number 1 seed in the NFC. So I don't know what to think there. I really think Atlanta with home field. I think they've heard so much about we've never gotten anything done in the playoffs with this group of guys that maybe you're going to see just an outstanding performance out of them. A lot of people don't expect that based on track record, what's happened the last couple of years. They've gotten blown out and their doors blown off in the playoffs. And maybe people are thinking, that's going to happen again. But I think this may be the time that Atlanta finally flips the switch in the playoffs.
The others have all been pretty solid picks for me, and I'll get into that in a second. This is the one I struggle with, but we'll talk about that in a moment. And then, of course, the other game finds Houston going to New England, another rematch game. Nobody gives Houston a chance given the way New England handled them and the way Houston's played of late.
Exactly. This is, Houston could have been the other 1 seed had they won one of their last 2 games. Instead, they lost their last 2 games and fell back to the 3 seed. Got a win last week over Cincinnati. This is... this has all the makings of a New England blowout, perhaps, especially based on what happened on a Monday night a few weeks back. Could we see a repeat? I think it'll be a closer game than what it was last time, but certainly you have to give New England the edge.
Okay. Picks. I'm going with Denver, going with Green Bay on the road, going with Atlanta at home, and going with the New England Patriots.
I'm going to agree with you on most of them. Certainly I think Denver, New England is the consensus pick in the AFC to advance. I like San Francisco at home, and I'm going to, I'm going to go ahead and go with Atlanta over Seattle. It's going to be a close game, but I think maybe that extra long trip again east, second week in a row. A lot of people were questioning why didn't they stay out east. They didn't do it. Another long trip. We'll see if that indeed hurts him.
All right, we'll fight on one. Sean Payton, the deal ratified, his new contract, highest paid coach in the league. So the fact that the Saints went ahead and got this approved, the fact that Benson gave him the deal in the first place, tells you that he fully expects that Payton is going to be reinstated. when the Super Bowl is over with. I don't think he would have done this otherwise.
Well, at some point, I mean, as you and I discussed earlier this week, it's Sean Payton was allowed to stick with the team through the draft. If it's truly a year-long suspension, when is that going to happen? Is it going to be right after the Super Bowl? Is it going to be before the Super Bowl? Is it going to be sometime in March or April that he finally gets to go back to work? That remains the question at this point. Presumably, that clause that got the contract thrown out last time isn't in the contract this time.
You would hope so. I would think it will happen pretty quickly. If not, shame on the league. Finally, the Hornets back at home tonight. 3-game win streak. Longest winning streak of the season, and they've got a Timberwolves team that's battered. No Kevin Love. Ricky Rubio's been bothered by the lingering knee problem, a back most recently. So this is a good situation for the Hornets to make it 4 straight before they hit the road.
Yeah, and it's a tough road trip coming up with going east to play New York, Philly, and Boston. But certainly a chance to get another one. And Eric Gordon. I mean, a lot of people have been critical of the guy, but the bottom line is when he is on the floor, the Hornets are a much better basketball team. He doesn't always, perform at an all-star level. He had a tough night the other night, but the fact of the matter is defenses have to respect him, respect the abilities that he brings, be able to get his own shot, to be able to beat people off the dribble. And that brings a whole new dimension to the Hornets, especially on offense.
He makes everyone around him better. Truly remarkable win over Houston, rallying from 10 down in the fourth quarter, closed on a 22-2 run, and they won the game with their top 3 players combining for 11 points. Go figure. Anthony Davis with 6, Eric Gordon with 5, and Ryan Anderson did not scratch. Tells you that this is becoming a team. Lenny, as always, thanks. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend. We'll see you next week.
All right, that's our First NBC Weekend Preview, brought to you by First NBC Bank, our good and great sponsor with locations throughout the greater New Orleans area. God bless you one and all. We'll talk to you Monday.